Well, here I am, another question and answer show. Thanks for tuning in. Things are looking up. Happy Ascension Thursday to all our Christian friends out there. Wonderful day, beautiful day here in Boston. Patrick and Michaela were out riding at how many miles? 20 miles or whatever.
35 bike ride.
36-mile bike ride, so they were a little late. I'm going to blame them for a late start, but they got here and it's like two tornadoes coming in. Well, one tornado, my son, coming in here and getting everything ready. So I want to start. We don't have the questions. We have a lot of questions and Facebook stuff, and Patrick's going to be working on that while I'm talking to you. We're going to start a little differently today, and that is on a couple of projects that came in. Very difficult projects, two really difficult projects that came in. And as usual, if you have questions and answers live, those will be answered first, and Michaela will interrupt me every time with your live questions or comments. So I have this fan back chair that came in, and I want to show you something on these. These are really hard to upholster because they're inside curves, right? So here's the original fabric, and the original fabric, in all fairness, has been on here for a while. But I do want to show you when you put the cushion on. You see the wrinkles. I think the camera can pick up the wrinkles on this. And wrinkles on an upholstery job is usually not good, right? Unless they're intentional wrinkles. Let's say on a ruffle skirt. And we haven't done ruffle skirts in a while. Today people want clean lines, they don't want wrinkles, they want to eliminate as many seams as possible. It makes our job, as upholsterers, it makes our job a little bit harder. But I want to show you, a lot of times on these wrinkles, the cushion kind of locks down. And sometimes, a tight fitting cushion can help that. Okay, but you're still seeing wrinkles, but this is older too, so that's probably developed over time. But it brings up a really interesting point about how to stretch fabric. And I want to mention, we go into great detail in the online classes. And for all you guys, we've had some recent sign-ups. Thank you to the online classes.
That was it Jana?
Jana.
I know you talked to her on the phone.
Yeah, talked to Jana. Hi, Jana. We had a nice talk on the phone. Happy Ascension Thursday.
I hope she ended up getting on. I sent her an email. Hopefully that helped.
Yes. We hope that you got that email and everything's okay. But when you look at a fan back chair, the reason it's hard is because it's not flat. It's not like the arm, and you could stretch it two ways. On a fan back that an inside curve like this, you really can only stretch it really tight one way. And I think you would only learn this with really good detail. I'm just going to go over a little bit here on an online class, because we have a tub chair that's very similar to this that we did, Michelle's tub chair that we did. We spend a lot of time in the inside back. That's of all the parts of the components of this chair, the inside back is the most work, okay, because of this. So on this here, when you put this on, the stretch is in this area, right in this area, right in the inside, in the center, right? And it's stretched up, and then all the other side to side stretching is very subtle, okay? And I have another little thing to tell you. When manufacturers make a fan back chair, they pick a fabric that stretches properly. So a lot of time us upholsterers, we're getting fabrics that don't necessarily work with a piece of furniture. Case in point, this one I want to show you before I get on to other things on this. This velvet, it's a beautiful cotton velvet. But let me tell you something, I know already that this is really going to be tough on that back. It's going to show a lot of wrinkles. Plain fabrics, lighter fabrics are going to show more wrinkles anyhow. So I'm going to talk about how to make a couple of changes on this to make it easier to upholster with this. A couple of little tricks. So I take this away. First I'm going to show you what happens when you tighten the interior up. I don't even have my compressor plugged in today, but I don't need it. So I'm going to stretch in this area to show you. I bet I can get most of these wrinkles out. Watch this, simple stretch up. Like so. And then the side to side stretch. This is a tight stretch this way. Side to side stretch, I would say, it's very subtle. It's almost like you're bringing it over like so, right? I'm going to hold my chin right there to show you. And then on the other side, and then most of the wrinkles go, right? So now I know that on my velvet I need a little bit more help with that. So what they did with this fabric, they only have a seam. They have a top stitch seam down here, right?
John tuning in. It seems like he invited a crew with him. It says, "Hi everyone, John, Ann, and Marie tuned in from Ireland on a wet, windy night here."
Wonderful. Say hi to our Dublin relatives over there. Are they doing their dance tonight, Patrick? Or
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night is their dance, their Irish jigs that they do, and they're all over the place doing that in Dublin. Of course, not these days. John, are you in lockdown? Maybe you can answer that. I think they are, Patrick, right? They're still in lockdown
Yeah,
over
they
there?
don't have as many cases as us, though.
Yeah, but they're doing good with the mitigation, I think. Anyhow, on this
Lauren
one...
says hello. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Okay, no problem. We like Lauren, everybody's...
No, there's Jimmy. Oh, my God.
Jimmy is, he's been in
I thought I banned him from the chat. I don't know how I ended up getting back in.
You didn't ban him. Jimmy's our biggest fan. Anyhow, so what I'm going to do with the velvet, anticipating that I'm going to have a problem, right? And this is through experience, you guys, right? I'm going to make a piping in here. I'm going to make a piping, self-piping. And the reason I'm going to do that, and then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a piping this way. Okay, I'm still going to have my same angles that they have on their fabric. But what the piping does that the stitch alone doesn't do is that I'm going to extend my pipings a little bit longhand. I'm going to extend my piping through this piping, and there's going to be a stretcher put on this, a pleated stretcher, believe it or not. You don't see it in there, but it's a pleated stretcher. But what that's going to do, I'm going to be able to really tighten that up, almost like a clamp. And it will draw all those wrinkles off to the side and then kind of disperse the wrinkles. That's the trick. It requires a real tailored back. It's all done in one piece. And again, the tub chair that Michelle does on the online classes, that's where you're going to see how we do that. So I thought you would be interested. So this is a very tough job for me. The other thing I want to show you, it is a velvet. Thanks, Patrick. So the velvet, the velvet's going to be done on the piping. Okay, we're not going to have any seams on this. We're going to make sure we cut the fabric so this piping's one piece all the way around. The only seam will be in the back. You can hardly see it. Little tips like that, and I think that's that on that one. I just wanted to show you just the challenging project. I'm going to put this down and show you another challenging project, probably even more so, and a little bit scary, and I'll show you why. Put this down. So, what I have here is the back side of a Stickley piece, a newer Stickley, not the older ones. And the newest Stickleys have a little bit more upholstery, right? I'm not going to be able to turn this around to show you, but it has upholstered in paneled arms on the inside of the wood and an upholstered back, inside back, and an upholstered outside back. But the thing about this is a cherry wood. This is a very expensive piece of furniture, so I have to be really careful. We picked this up. There are two pieces. One's a love seat, which this is, and a sofa. I picked it up one at a time. I'm not going to pile the two of them in. And we really have to be like professional movers when we pick up a piece like this, because this was pristine. The edges on this were pristine. I actually did a YouTube video on this because it's. I don't think I ever touch upon how presentation is so important when if you're professionally doing upholstery. I mean, you don't show up at a client's house with the pickup truck and two German Shepherds in the back picking up a piece like this. And I've seen people do that. Don't do that. On this piece here, we had a nice clean van. We didn't even have the rubber matting on the floor, because rubber matting gets on the bottom of the legs, and when you bring it back, you're going to have rubber going on a white carpet or something like that. You don't want that. So our van is pristine clean. We have a wooden base on it, and then I brought all these cushions. I brought all these older cushions with me. And I instead of strapping it in, because the straps, even if I blanket it, I was worried that the straps would take my nice cherry wood line here. Cherry wood's a very soft wood. All of this we thought about, you know. And we have a question. I'm gonna ask Michaela to read to me.
Lauren says, can you talk about the tan fabric that is under the cushion? What type of fabric is that? It is sewn to the small strip that covers the front panel of the chair.
Yep. That is a decking fabric, D-E-C-K-I-N-G, and usually comes in a beige. fabric, real neutral, and it goes with most other fabrics. It's really acceptable to put that on almost every job, unless the client requests a bless you, a self deck, and then we use a self deck is that you use the fabric. So that's that, and I use it a lot to save fabric. So because we are competitive with pricing, right? You guys, if you're giving out quotes, if you guys are getting into the professional world, you are competing with other upholsterers, and you have to be really tight sometimes with your yardages, because fabric can be expensive, right? So that saves sometimes a yard of fabric. So it could be the difference between you getting the job and not getting the job, right? And plus it shows, it exhibits your knowledge on when it comes to estimating yardages. And we've done videos in the YouTube about how to estimate yardage. I usually break it up. You break it up. When you break it up, instead of looking at a piece all at once, when you break it up and know the cushion takes 1.5 yards on a chair, the arms another yard, the inside back and so on, and then add up the numbers, you're better off doing that than looking at a piece and scratching your head, right? And so a tape measure is always good to have, although I don't usually use it. Sometimes I get caught because I do need it, but most of the times I don't need it. But that's just because I've been around for over 40 years. But having a tape measure, you can figure out even better on the yardage. Don't go by the scales that you see, the graphs online that you see, that they're no good. Usually, they don't tell you enough yardage. They usually, I find, about 15% less than what you need. And of course, then patterns have a lot to do with it. And I know that wasn't your question, but I'm going on here. But let me get back to my beautiful Stickley cherry wood that has beautiful lines, but it's a very soft wood, and I need to be real careful. And it's a very expensive piece of furniture. So I really have to, more important to customers there watching you load it, watching how you're handling it, etc. So you have to give them faith that you're going to do a good job, not only on the work, but in caring for their piece of furniture. It's huge, you guys, huge. So I bring all these cushions and I just patted it all up in the van and made sure nothing was going to hit, nothing hard was going to hit this at all. So that's that. I want to show you the other thing, and then we're going to give Jimmy a call to see how he's doing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When I strip this piece of furniture, you guys, all of my heavy stripping tools are no good. I'm gonna just throw those back over here. The only thing I use to strip this piece of furniture, believe it or not, is my side cutters. And all of my work, all of my stripping is gonna be, it's kind of tough when you're a right-handed person and you get to the left-hand side sometimes, and you're gonna go like this. But all of the energy has to go on the inside or away from the wood, right? Up and away, right? Away from the wood. So far, I'm doing good stripping this, not one ding. And I count. If I get one ding, I have to call in the refinisher to help me fix it. Okay, because this is a pristine piece. He bought this piece, these two pieces, and set them in his living room. They've been there ever since, right? So they're in really good shape, and I don't want to be the one to ding them. So I just wanted to bring all that up. I thought it was interesting. If anybody has any questions about that, they can call. But let's see what Jimmy's up to. All right, I hope he answers the phone.
There's Erica. She's in there.
Hi, Erica. We're about to call Jimmy.
It's a good question too.
Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing good, Jimmy. I want to ask you, did you receive your SAG application for becoming a famous Hollywood superstar in the upholstery business?
Kevin, you didn't get the memo?
No, what?
I'm already famous in the upholstery world. I already have my SAG card.
That's right. I forgot. Jimmy was in a movie called The Town, a major role down the subway featuring Jimmy. And that's a true story, right, Jimmy?
He's that guy, if you look very carefully with binoculars all the way, 10 blocks down, you can see his hand coming out around the corner.
Kevin, you gotta stop those hecklers in the back. I gotta tell you right now.
We have a very rowdy audience today, Jimmy. Usually, before this pandemic hit, you would be one of many in the audience, and for some reason, you were always being picked to come down and to say a few words.
Hey, I'm really worried because he's trying to inch his way back here.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to have to make some sort of rules for Jimmy when he gets back. A hazmat suit.
Kevin, that telling you, as I swear to God, he's He's such a peach.
Well, anyhow, let's get back to upholstery.
You know we can't wait till you get back. We're just messing with you.
Jimmy, we're going to be answering questions while we have you, and we have a question now.
Okay, go right ahead, Kevin.
Okay.
This is from Erica. Is it personal preference as to whether you use foam or cushions, foam for cushions versus other methods to fill?
Yeah, that's a good question. Eric is asking about foam cushioning, Jimmy.
Okay.
And I think one of the hardest questions, that's one of the hardest questions. You know, somebody comes in here and they say, I'm uncomfortable. And I'll tell you a little story. I love telling stories. I got a call from a professional basketball player, a very famous professional basketball player for the Boston Celtics. And I can't mention his name, but think elbows when you think about him, Jimmy. Think elbows. And you might get an idea who I'm talking about. But I had never met a professional basketball player in person. He called because he was angry. He bought a piece of furniture that was guaranteed that he was going to be comfortable on. And he selected the filling, like Erica was talking about, the best filling, the best chair, a lot of money, and he was angry because he wasn't comfortable in it. So I went out and I met him, and when he got up off the chair, I was watching. He kept going up and up and up and up. And, you know, you're nearly talking 7 feet tall, Jimmy, right?
Right.
Now, when he sat down on the chair, so this is tied into Erica's comment. When he sat down on the chair, his knees were almost hitting the ceiling.
Oh yeah, it's always that way.
I exaggerate, but here's the thing. If I were to build a chair for this man, his initials are DC, by the way. Don't say it, Jimmy. And if I were to make a chair for him, it would look so odd in order for him to fit into it. Right? First of all,
Right. You'd have to probably do a couple of, take a couple of pictures of how he is sitting in the chair, but also what other chairs like him would work around.
well, here's the thing. It brings up a very sensitive subject. I mean, we're dealing with different body shapes.
Exactly.
Now, Fenway Park here in Boston has seats that were made for people around the turn of the century, and let's face it, they were very small and they were very comfortable in these chairs. Now, we're all challenged fitting in these chairs. So
Challenge? What do you mean challenge?
Well,
I swear to God.
Oh boy.
I know you buy 2 tickets.
That's for somebody else now. Stop it.
Okay, so it brings up this issue. I have a French settee in here with the 100% down cushion, which is very unusual. You can only find that in old pieces of furniture, right? 100% down is unheard of. Usually you mix it with feathers. But the customer was a very petite, grandmotherly type, and I bet you she weighed about 85 pounds. And when she sat on this cushion, it was like sitting on a cloud for her. But Jimmy, if you sat in it, think pancake, man, right? It would be like a pancake, right?
Exactly.
So it depends on the body shape, on how comfortable you are. And then I have issues where you have a big family, you have a wife that's small and a husband that's big, and they're not comfortable. That's a problem, right? So
Well, that's why they have the Tempur-Pedic mattresses today, Kevin. Your side of the bed is an 85, and I'm a 60, and it's like what the Tempur. I mean,
yeah,
that's why some people have just the way it goes today. I mean, they have that flexibility to have that, but
Maybe-
the chair for somebody, especially when it's for the whole house.
yeah.
I'm going to wear it out probably before you will.
That's
and then
right.
By the time you get it, it's like there's nothing less to it.
So the average chair is built for the average size person, which I would say is 5 foot 10.
Right.
When you take both genders together, I would say the average piece of furniture is going to fit somebody 5 foot 10 and about 140 to 150 pounds. Okay.
Right.
And then you start with that, and then you say, okay, what's the best seating? The best seating possible anywhere is a spring seat, 8-way tied spring seat, and then on top of that a cushion that consists of a Marshall unit and down around it. And a replacement for that would be just a basic foam cushion. So, and it all reflects on price as to what the customer is willing to pay. So, but then you have the problems of the body shapes and weights. You know, it's an honest discussion, really. You know.
Well, I think that's why sometimes people, when they see foam cushions, and that's why it comes in, you know, they're hearing about the memory foam all the time.
Yeah, memory foam.
How much of that plays into our everyday lives, because now we have it with our mattresses.
Right.
And people say, well, if I have memory foam on my chair, I have a heavier group, I have a more rougher group. Will this work?
Well, that's interesting. You should bring up an alternate filling like a memory foam. I'm not a big fan of it because I'm also thinking about longevity when I do something. I want the fabric to last. I don't want it to walk, W-A-L-K, on a cushion or anywhere else on the piece for that matter. That's where, so with memory foam, it contracts too much and the fabric walks, and then in no time at all you're getting a call from the client saying, you didn't do a good job on my cushion because the seams are ripping. Well, the seams are ripping because there's so much tension that's put on them. So there's some practicality to a filling also. So it's challenging, isn't it? And then you got to get the back, you know, hopefully you're starting, if you're a reupholsterer, you're starting with the chair that was properly scaled, has the proper back. I've talked about this before, but the 12 to 15 degree back, and then on the seat, you've got about a 5 degree pitch back. I don't know, are you watching this, Jimmy? Do you see my hands? That's what you're looking for. And from the top of the seat, no matter if it's a loose cushion or a spring seat, 17 inches, right? And that's for an average body. So when I went into, getting back to my basketball friend, when I went into the house, not only were his knee very, I couldn't believe how skinny he was. I always, you know, on TV, these guys look like they're muscle men, right? And they are, don't get me wrong, but they're very lean when you meet them in person. He was very skinny. Now.
Yeah, I remember, you know, there was a guy on an old job I used to, this particular person, Bill Walton was named.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so he was a very tall guy, but when I saw him a couple times, I'm thinking like, wow, these guys are actually, there's not as much muscle on a basketball player versus, say, a hockey player maybe, or even a baseball player.
Well, I didn't know that. So when I went into the house, not only were his knees almost like up in the sky, but his shoulder blades weren't anywhere near hitting the back of the chair. And this was a big club chair, by the way. Did I mention that? He was sitting in a big club, it was a big club chair that looked like it would fit most men, but not him. So that chair, I'll give you some rough dimensions of what that chair should have been for him. First of all, the seat height should have been about 22 inches off the floor. The back height should have been, probably almost 2 yards when you think about it. I mean, and a very thin chair, not a wide chair, so that he could put his arms on the top of the arm of the chair. So it would look ridiculous. The chair would look ridiculous, honestly. But so it wasn't really resolved because the chair. I said I can't do anything with the dimensions of the chair. I was honest. I didn't really want to tell him that he needed a custom chair that would look something like, you know, I don't know. It would look funny.
Something that probably looks a better sitting chair for him.
Yeah.
That would, you know, it's you can't put an average. I mean, maybe in a formal wingback chair, you could probably get away with it. But some of these modern chairs, Kevin, are not. They're more lower to the ground. So when you talk about somebody, their knees are higher than as probably as high as their head when they sit down in a chair like that.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. The whole thing is the concept. So getting back to Erica's question about, you know, what it really is a case by case, I think, on filling on the cushions. So that answers her question. Do we have any other questions, Michaela? We're going to go to, Jimmy, you could stay on the phone. We're going to go to our favorite person besides you on the Facebook website.
The forum.
Okay.
The forum is Pam, and she's got, speaking of cushions, this is a great segue to the next thing, right? She has a picture, and I think, Patrick, are you putting that picture of the settee up there?
Yeah, both of them are from Pam. I have 2 pages that are from her.
She says, I have picked up a vintage love seat that has a down cushion. I just wanted to ask if there are any tips about reusing the down cushions. Should I add more or should I take some out or whatever? But But on down cushions, you know, when we're being trained on, first of all, it's not an all down cushion. It's the best down cushion for a seat or back is 50% feather and 50% down. The down is from this part of the goose and the feathers from everywhere else. And the feathers have a stem in them, right? So what the feather provides is just some body. And then you need downproof ticking and you need to channel the cushion. So what I'm looking at here, if you could keep this cushion, keep it, because it only needs a good, I take a fabric roll, Jimmy, and I say, let's say you gave me a hard time when you came in here, or you made a mistake on your chair, and I couldn't yell at you, because, you know, you're a grown man. I'm not going to yell at a grown man, right? I'm going to take, after you leave, I'm going to take that roll and just hit that cushion, right? Now you don't want to do this after you've upholstered it. Okay, you don't want to hit a velvet cushion like this, right? But you can hit the old fabric, or you could take the cushion out and hit it. You have to be a little careful. You don't want to rip the downproof ticking, which can happen. You don't want to be too aggressive, but I would guarantee you that once you're done with that, it's a brand new cushion. That's the beauty of down, because you can hit it back into shape. That's why people like it. It's unlike any other cushion.
But I think we kind of still have that perception they want the shape of the cushion itself. And maybe that's why PM's asking about adding more down to it.
Yeah, you can't, usually, I'm glad you mentioned that. Usually that's not the problem. You can actually overstuff a down cushion so that it becomes something other than a down cushion. It's interesting too, because when I was learning by those European masters, who I'm very grateful for, I remember them telling me when I was learning, I put a handful of down in, oh, too much, take it out. I take it out, oh, you took too much out. I put it back, I put a half of a fist in, oh, too much. It was that precise, because the down and feather need to breathe in each channel that you do, just in the right fashion. Now, when you're done, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, is a man 200 pounds going to be comfortable on that? Absolutely not. He's not going to get the support that a 100-pound woman's going to get. And you know, I'm just being honest. I don't usually get into these discussions with my clients. I'm trying to be a little bit more sensitive when I'm talking about this. Maybe I would recommend a spring down cushion, for instance, on that everybody would be. By the way, springing down, everybody seems to be happy with that. Just a little tip for you guys. But it is expensive. A cushion, a settee like this, Jimmy, probably would cost about $600 extra on top of the labor just for the cushioning.
But, wow.
Yeah, it's considerable. A lot of people don't opt for that, especially with the upcoming, no, I don't want to say it, but anyhow, we're going to go to the next picture that Pam has. And boy, doesn't Pam come up with some really interesting pieces, Jimmy?
I'm telling you, Kevin, she is one person I would love to have on your show.
I think we should ask her to come in. I think we will ask her. Maybe we'll ask her now, Pam. Maybe in the future we can have you come in and do a couple of these on camera. I hope you consider that.
Oh, yeah. And the things she does, oh my God, I'd love to watch her.
She's got these, she says, here are the afters and before photos of these chairs. What a difference a new outfit makes. Yeah, look at that. Now, look at the scroll arm that she has there and the caning. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful woodworking. Now that's interesting too. Sometimes on older furniture, we don't see upholsterers and woodworkers working well with one another, like the Stickleys. The old Stickleys, there seemed to be a lack of upholstery skills in the old Stickleys. But the newer Stickleys, like this piece here, it looks like they collaborated well with the upholsterer. And it's just because of the way it's put together. I like the way it's put together. But she did a good job there, Jimmy, I think. Let's get...
I'll tell you, Kevin, she does fantastic work.
Yeah, she does. Do you have any questions, Jimmy, or comments before we get on to the couple of comments that we have from the YouTube?
No, go ahead, Kevin. I'm busy watching, and I'm impressed looking at the pictures of Pam. It's really nice to see that.
Now remember, Jimmy, I understand that you've been having trouble sleeping lately. I've always recommended that you watch these, to get to sleep, watch these questions and answers or any video, and have some turkey and some heavy gravy and wine available while you're watching. I guarantee you'll go to sleep in about 2 seconds.
Well, actually, I'm watching your show now, Kevin. I have a coffee next to me, so I'm trying to struggle through this.
Oh, thanks a lot, buddy.
Oh, people say, yeah, it works, Jim. It really does. Why have a glass of wine and watch Kim rap? I'm going to be going for fewer than an hour. Oh, my God.
Listen, you made me snort live on TV, you son of a gun.
Oh, sorry about that.
You just uncovered a secret about my family's laughing. We sound like, when we really get going, we sound like snorting pigs at a pig farm.
Well, I have my other half who does the same thing, Kevin.
Oh,
When she gets going, it's like unbelievable, and I'm like, are you serious?
Well, you know, it's funny, laughing, contagious laughter like that. Some people do other things too while they're laughing, but I won't say anything.
Okay. That's all right.
So let's
kind of like draw this out a little bit. You can tell the family secrets in the next episode.
yeah. So let's get to some of these questions on YouTube. This was about the American Victorian sofa stripping and measuring for fabric. So I just want to have a bear with these guys and hear about all the couch treasures they have found over the years. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, Carissa says that. We haven't done one of these treasures of upholstery in a long time, but I know I've mentioned before that I think one of the biggest things I have found in a piece of furniture, 3 things in one piece of furniture. I found 2 Rolex watches, which I recently found out. I don't know if you ever watched that show on TV, the Antique Roadshow.
Yes.
They had a guy on. By the way, I returned all these. They had a guy on there who had bought, while he was in the Vietnam War. I think he was in Vietnam when he bought it, a Rolex watch, and he didn't realize. He knew it was very expensive then, but he kept it in the case and for all this time. I don't know if you saw it. He went on to Antique Roadshow. It happened to be one of the most rare Rolex watches. And when they told him, guess how much that watch was worth?
$25,000.
$750,000.
No way.
You guys can Google it to watch it. When he,
Well, you know what?
I think he fell over, literally.
I remember that story, but you know what's funny? I mean, stuff like that, Kevin, it was probably $150, maybe $200 at the time when he bought it, and that was a lot of money.
Something tells me it was about 600, but I'm not positive about that, right? But anyhow, so also in the same piece of furniture, actually this was for somebody famous, this chair too, so this was real expensive stuff. In the same piece of furniture, I found a huge gold coin, Jimmy, that it must have weighed 2 pounds, right? Real. It looked like it was the first issued gold coin of the United Nations, right?
Okay.
I think if you dropped this thing, it would have gone through the earth. It was so heavy. It was heavy. So I got an envelope. I put everything in the envelope. I put the date that I found it and the time, and I sealed the envelope up. And I gave it back to the customer, and they looked at me like I had 2 heads.
Well, how many people have something like that? I mean, the thing is, they have that furniture may not have been theirs. It may have been passed down to them, not knowing what was in there.
Well, yeah, I think, I always thought, I don't really look at the money monetarily on a story. I like stories for what they are. And I've told that story a few times. I wouldn't be able to tell that story if I didn't return those watches and that gold coin, So I have a good story to tell, right? So that's one thing I found. I mean, we found treasures that we found. I found a treasure in something that I really didn't think was a treasure. I'll tell you, it was one of the YouTube videos. You can check it out. Treasures of Upholstery. There's a few videos, but there was one in particular. We had this beautiful piece of furniture. I take it all apart, Jimmy. The only thing I found was local to us, in Boston here. I found a candy wrapper. Now, what's the name of that candy store, the candy factory that was in Somerville, Jimmy?
I don't. Necco.
Necco.
I knew that.
Right? So I made the mistake of looking at that, saying, "Oh, we only found a candy wrapper. Isn't that? Oh, that's." I was a little downtrodden, right? Well, guess what? We heard from a guy who says, that candy wrapper meant so much to me when you found that. I had forgotten. They live somewhere else in the world. and they had lived nearby the factory, and it brought back the smell of the factory and his childhood, and his mother cooking, and then the candy, and he told the story, and I'm thinking to myself, I should have known better. I should have known. See, it's the story behind. It doesn't necessarily, the object doesn't matter, does it? It's the story behind the object, right?
All the time.
Sometimes,
I
you
mean,
know.
I can remember certain, like, you know, driving by the Necco place in Cambridge at the time.
Yeah.
And my father, you know, you could just smell it. It was like you go within 2 or 3 blocks, that was it. You knew it was there.
I was from the more suburbia, and our big thing was the bread fat. What's the name of that bread company out there in Natick on Spain Street? Do you remember that? Wonder Bread. Wonder Bread.
Well, was it Wonder Bread?
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread was out there for a while.
Wonder Bread. And we used to go out there. They used to have a retail store in that factory, and you would be
Right.
going down Route 30, which is one of the local roads here, you guys, and you would start smelling it about 5 miles away. And do you remember that Mickey Mouse cartoon when he's floating in the air, and the woman's got the apple pie out on the shelf, and the aroma, and Mickey's floating.
It's floating towards it.
That's what we were doing. We were floating towards the bread, and then filling ourselves up on that lousy white bread.
Well, you know what? I mean, well, I told you, I worked for them for a year and a half.
You're kidding.
I worked for Wonder Bread for a year and a half, and it was quite the experience because J.J. Nissen and Wonder Bread were all by the same company.
Wow, I didn't know that.
We have a question.
Oh, yeah.
We have
Yeah, I mean, and even then people called it, how do you sell that stuff? And I'm like, I actually put drop it real quick, stir and run.
Didn't they have warning labels towards the end? Hold on a second.
Oh, I tell you, you know what, that was such a cheap bread, Kevin. It's amazing how...
Do you know what?
They propped it up as a nutritious bread.
You throw that on peanut butter and jelly, man, there was nothing better. I don't care what was in it. Could have been sawdust.
Yeah.
I would have ate. Now hold on a second, Jimmy. We have a question.
Okay, so Lauren's asking, I picked up a roadside couch yesterday, being curious about the pad stuffing because it was so heavy. I found a koozie for a water bottle, a small zipper pouch, but no treasure. The cushion is spring and down, crazy heavy, but it's seen better days.
Well, it's crazy heavy because of the stock of the wood, and it's probably mahogany. That I don't think any type of filling. I mean, horsehair will add some weight, but it has to be the frame that's heavy. It's the construction that makes any piece heavy, I think. You know. So that's the answer to that. But she found, what did she find? She found an empty. Imagine that, Jimmy, an empty purse, an empty pouch. You know, an empty like.
Yeah, the cage purse.
Yeah. And what else did she find?
I said koozie, but it's cozy, like, you know, cozy for like a...
Oh, yeah. I thought Patrick said she found a jacuzzi on the sofa. But it,
Oh, wow, yeah.
Or Bob Cousy autograph.
oh, Bob Cousy. but it was a cozy. Last question and answer. I was sitting here. My cell phone was going on. Patrick was coming with an electrical cord at me. Do you remember, Jimmy?
Yeah, last week you threw a cord at her. I saw it.
No, he didn't throw it. He was coming at me, and I thought, where's the electric chair?
Yeah, he's going, well, you know what, Kevin? He doesn't realize that those cell phone cords really don't carry much electricity.
They wouldn't do the job, would they? They wouldn't do the job, would they, Jimmy?
Yeah, he's definitely going to watch those mystery shows about how to really take care of somebody.
He's got to up the voltage there, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, at least bring in a heavy power cord, at least one.
All right, I better get on to the next question.
Well, Terry says they used to have a coffee factory in downtown Kansas. Imagine that smell.
A coffee factory where?
Yeah, Folgers Coffee in downtown Kansas City.
Ooh, I would like that, Jimmy, wouldn't you? We should get these 3 factories together. We should get the candy factory, the coffee factory, and the bread factory all together.
Where's the coffee factory, Kevin?
Where is that? Kansas City?
No, it's a coffee, not chocolate. Did you say chocolate?
No, I said chocolate. It's coffee.
Coffee. Willy
Well,
Wonka.
that's okay, but you know what? A nice aroma in the morning. I remember. Do you remember some of the canned coffee that you had years ago? You had a very, very fresh.
You know, I want to know what happened to Folgers crystals. You know, everybody should have a thing of Folgers crystals. You put them in and you got an instant cup of coffee. You don't know, boy, right?
Well, actually, Kevin, I'm a Sanka guy, so I can't.
Oh, wait a minute. We have to end this call now. I'm sorry. No, I'm just
All
kidding.
right.
I'm just kidding. Let's get on to the next question here about a do-it-yourself how to pad a cane dining room chair. This is from Food is Life. I'm telling you, we got some good segues here today, Jimmy.
Yeah, we do.
Food is Life. This is such a great video. Thank you. If one doesn't own the device, which is the clinch it. Oh no, she's talking about the webbing stretcher. This is a good question. The webbing stretcher that tightens the webbing. Is there some alternative that can employ to get the same result? Yes, there is. If you were to purchase, and I don't mean this as a plug, but if you go on Broadway Upholstery School and purchase the what is that, Patrick? The kit, the
fundamentals kit.
Fundamentals of Upholstery. I show you both ways how to do it with the webbing stretcher and how to do it. I show you how to do it with a pair of pliers. The trick is when you're doing the pliers, you have to stretch, tack, stretch, tack, stretch, tack, stretch, tack 4 times across the webbing, but you can see it. So the reason I did that is because people, you know, these tools can be expensive, right? So so I show people how to use home tools. I know they're not as good as the professional tools, but not everybody can afford the professional tools, right, Jimmy?
No, I mean you realize when you add up even the stretcher and the nail, the hammer, you know, the needles and all the other basics, it comes up quick.
Yep. So we have another question from Janine. Is Janine watching, Patrick? I'm just curious about how.
No, but she's the one who's in Australia, so she's probably.
Well, Eric is in Seattle, right?
Yeah, I used to get those two confused. I thought I used to think Eric was in.
Eric, wondering about how they're doing out there. The last time we talked to her, they were going to be in a lockdown for an extended lockdown out there, Jimmy. So we're just wondering how they're doing. So Janine from Australia, she says, this is about the upholstery show with me opening up a back, that
was from last week's show.
From last week's show. And she says, I think it would be great when you offer supplies and we're going to be doing that very soon, Jimmy, because we're finding, let me just finish what she says. You can help us with us getting the correct supplies for the job, and you've helped us learn the skills to do it. She brings up a really good point because we've been so focused on the skill end of things for 10 years we've been doing. Right, Patrick? Nearly 10 years on YouTube. With nearing, I think we clicked close to 200 videos, Patrick.
Yeah, we're getting close. We're gonna be at 10,000 subscribers soon.
At 10,000 subscribers, our focus has been so much on the skill set that we forget, or I forgot, that the supplies, people have a hard time ordering these supplies and knowing where to get them for a reason, because it's a very, it's almost like a culture and a different language. But I know the language, and what we're going to do is help people get the right supplies so that they're not spending a huge amount of money too. I mean, people go out, they go crazy, and they don't really need it. And what's funny about ordering supplies is a lot of times they use the old English weight systems. They use ounces and pounds and yardage and all that stuff, and you can easily over order on your supplies and then order the wrong thing. There's so many wrong ways of ordering, so it almost it's a skill within itself how to order. So we're going to help people. If people call me, they'll email us, and we'll get them the right supplies. So we're gonna be working on that after this whole crazy pandemic thing is over.
Well, not that long. Wait till it's over; it'll never be over.
Well, that's true. Maybe it is a good time because more people are at home, and we can help them. We can help them that way. But it's going to check out the time, Jimmy. Oh, Lord. Getting late, huh, Patrick? So
about 15 more minutes. We started late, so.
Oh, we started late, but we're looking to see if there are any more questions coming in, because
Terry has a question about dating a piece. I'm trying to see if she can upload that to the forum. We can look at it right now.
About dating a piece. It's tough dating pieces.
Well, not literally.
Didn't you date a love seat once, Jimmy?
No, that
Or was that a wing chair?
no. I was a love seat.
Well, if you're going to date a piece of furniture, what type of furniture would it be?
I always like the traditional wingback.
Oh, traditional wingback. You like a nice, sturdy piece of furniture, right?
Oh yeah.
That will be able to, cook and clean for you and all that
Not a
stuff.
folding chair, man.
Do you know what Patrick said?
You know what? I'm gonna take care of him.
Oh, you know what he said? He said you don't want a folding chair as a myth. That wouldn't be a dream.
Actually, maybe he can do that as a startup for him. Yeah, he can do Patrick's lawn chair time.
You didn't ask me what I would pick. I would pick a nice, petite, French settee, diamond tufted, red velvet with the beautiful down cushion.
Classy.
Well, there you go.
Classy.
Yeah.
Classy.
Now,
I know. With Patrick, it's like, give me one of those folding chairs from Hampton Beach.
He's gonna hit me over the head with it like Stone Cold.
Yeah.
I think, didn't they find people trapped in those chairs years later? They
Remember? Yeah, do you remember when they would like move the wrong way and all of a sudden it would come down on them?
Yeah, but I mean, what they find, didn't people like drift out to sea and then 3 years later they go, what? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Jimmy. So,
Well, if they happen to be near the time, Kevin, they probably did go out.
I asked Terry to upload that picture. If she doesn't have time, it's fine. But the main question was any idea when clinches were first used. That's why she's trying to use that information to date her piece.
that's interesting. So she's got a piece, Jimmy, that has these clinches in it. You know what a clinchet looks like. So I think the clinchet, if I had to guess, the clinchet came about in I would say the 30s, the 1930s, I would say,
Okay.
or the 1940s. What's interesting about this piece is that I always laugh. It's about 100 years old, and they got patent pending on here. They used to anyhow on the side. Well, I can't see it, but I would say it's about that old. So if you've got a piece though with clinchets in it, and the machine came out in the 1930s, it's anything after that. So I mean, I don't know if that's a great way of dating a piece of furniture.
Well, I'll tell you, how many years have you had that piece, Kevin?
This one here.
Yeah.
This is an old piece. This goes back with me, I'd say I've had this 25 years, but there's some that are older than this even. Well, here it is. Yeah, it's Clinchet with the K, K-L-I-N-C-H -it, I-T. And then down below, actually this one has no patent pending. It's a patent number and others pending, P-E-N-D.
Okay.
So that's interesting, but this is a tool that will save you on a sofa. If otherwise you have to hand stitch the coil springs to the webbing. I bet you
Yeah.
this would save you about 10 hours of work on a
Oh
sofa.
my God.
Yeah,
Well, you know
please.
what? I mean, when you and I spoke last week, I believe I was going to be telling you that I have a piece of furniture that I'm not even sure if it has springs. So I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is going to be one of those tear down and see what I have and see what's going to be replaced, and I'm sure it's going to be anything and everything.
Just be
But
careful tearing it down. You don't want to overdo it and tear it down.
No. I mean, I'm going to be taking it down a little bit of fabric at a time. This woman who offered it to me said it was in the house for a while. It did not appear to be having any springs to it. I said, oh my God. So what's going to be happening now?
So your dream, you're taking it down. Your dream would be to find a mound of coconut fiber in that chair, right, Jimmy? I hate to bring that up again, but
I think I'm speaking of Patrick again. So
That was the first time in a while you mentioned
I
that.
do want to mention something. I brought it up for a reason. You ever watch that show, Oak Island, The Treasures of Oak Island? It drives me crazy, that show, because I don't know if they ever found that treasure or not. But I was watching it the other day, and I was thinking of you. You know what they found in the bottom of that 150-foot shaft that they dug with all that crazy equipment? They spent millions and millions of dollars to go down into that hole over at Oak Island. Guess what they found?
Okay.
Guess what
Coconut fiber.
Coconut fiber. I'm not kidding you.
Good God.
So Jimmy, you're onto something there, man.
Yeah, I'm on to something, sure. Again, at least now I know that coconut fiber is so much more sensitive than horsehair.
Okay, so but we're going to be closing out, but we're going to play a little game now. Jimmy calls Spin the Clinch It. And here we go. And it goes right to Patrick. You can ask Patrick any question that you want, but remember that we are live, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Well, Patrick, let me ask you, will you ever be doing on one of these YouTube shows a project for your father or me?
Yes.
Yes.
As soon as we're able to do it, I don't know how people feel about picking up that furniture on the side of the road now, but that was the whole idea. Bring it in during one of the chats and show it, and then show it off and see what's in it and everything.
See, it brings up, Patrick mentioned before the pandemic, we wonder if people are going to be a little nervous about, picking things up. But the CDC came out yesterday.
Well, that's good news.
With the really good news about that the coronavirus does not last as long as they thought on surfaces. So that's a good thing. That said, we should look into, and maybe this will be your homework assignment, Jimmy. When we used to have bug-infested furniture or furniture that was smoke, that had smoke damage, there was a treatment called, it's an ozone machine. And don't ask me how it works. I don't know. But the ozone machine somehow took the smoke out of the furniture, and I think that, and the bugs, and I think that we should look into that for, I wonder if it has the same effect on any potential virus that's left, which I don't believe that there would be. However, it might make people more comfortable to know that that we had it treated in such a manner, So we should start looking into things like that for the industry, right?
I'll Google that tonight.
All right, ozone treatment, OZ.
Ozone treatment, okay.
Yeah. All right, man. Listen, we're gonna thank you for joining us, Jimmy. And next week, if that clinch it stops at you, you're gonna get the question. Okay?
Oh, baby, I'm ready for it.
I'm scared of that scary thought right there.
So we will see you later, man. Thanks for joining us.
All right, Kevin. Have a good night.
Okay,
Take
you
care,
too.
Patrick.
See you, Jimmy.
Bye. So that will do it, you guys. That was fun. You can see we got a little bit more energy than last week because I think that we're getting through this. And today was a great day, beautiful sunny day. And I think vitamin D is one of the cures for this pandemic. And we hope to see you next week, even more vibrant than we are this week.
And we gotta hopefully get Jimmy back live soon,
Yeah, Jimmy live. That's what we're looking for. So we'll see
also
you.
one thing, Terry, I'll just send that photo and we can show that off, and we'll try to figure out what year it was from next week.
Yeah, you take close-ups, so maybe we can get some more clues about how old it is. So thanks a lot, you guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.